Hi, my name is Jim McKay, and I am the Director of Public Works for the town of Millis. The town of Millis has experienced flooding issues, and we need your help to identify these flooding areas and potential solutions. The town's drainage system conveys stormwater through a system of pipes to the Charles River, Buggestow Brook, and one of the many wetlands that store and convey water during and after storms. You may be already familiar with some of these infrastructures, like catch basins, manholes, and outfalls, as shown here. How will this benefit the community? The Department of Public Works is aware of current flooding issues facing the community and is mitigating issues by maintaining infrastructure in flood-prone areas. We are also planning capital improvement projects with future climate conditions in mind so that infrastructure that goes into the ground tomorrow will continue functioning over the long term. Why are these projects important and urgent? During and after extreme storm events, the town of Millis experiences flooding in many locations. Flooding sometimes comes from water bodies that overtop their banks, while other times the town's drainage system lacks the capacity to convey water. Climate change will impact these risks over time. In recent years, the town has invested in infrastructure improvements to mitigate some of the impacts of flooding. These investments recognize that the development has the potential to increase the amount of runoff during storms from paved surfaces and roofs. This is necessary because parts of the town's drainage network were designed several decades ago and cannot withstand the increased storm intensity and frequency.
I'm Bob Weiss, the town planner for Millis and the energy manager. And you've seen how the town is creating an inventory of local flooding problems, and that we're assessing climate change and its impact on stormwater problems in the future. And that we're finding solutions to minimize flooding, both in the near future and in the long run. But you probably want to know, how are we going to pay for this? Well, we're working with the state's Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, specifically with their MVP program. That's the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program. They funded this study and the presentation so that we all understand flooding in our town. And EEA will continue to fund us through the MVP and other programs, and they'll help us fund the solutions to the problems that we find with the study. And we're also working with 20 other neighboring communities and the Charles River Watershed Association for solutions for flooding along the Charles.
Hi, I'm Jai LeBlanc, and I'm the current chair of the Board of Health in Millis. And I'm here to talk about what we've learned about flooding risk. Many areas and community assets are impacted by flooding. Certain areas, like our downtown corridor, have capacity limitations, which means that the runoff from the large storms exceed the ability for that stormwater to be conveyed. In other areas, when the runoff enters wetlands and rivers, the water level exceeds the banks and floods adjacent roads and properties. Prior flooding studies identified issues in many areas. The town has created an inventory of these flood risk areas and used this data and information about water bodies, topography, and the town's drainage infrastructure to develop a computerized model that can predict where flooding will take place under a variety of storm conditions. Areas that were modeled to have flooding under an extreme storm event are shown in this time lapse. So why is this problem important to solve? We are at a time of changing climate, and the changing climate tends to be more about extremes. For example, we're in a drought at this time in Massachusetts, and yet we have these torrential rains. But when you're in a drought condition, that torrential rain does not go into the ground, it runs off. And even though Millis is 33% wetland, our aquifer is actually down 25% in the last 10 years. So, wetlands actually become even more important in times of drought. A few years ago, the Board of Health changed its policy in regards to beavers, moving with cooperation with the DPW and the Conservation Commission to maintain populations of beavers and to use beaver mitigation devices instead of killing the beavers. The beaver mitigation devices work by giving the beavers the sense that the water is not moving quickly, and yet the water is allowed to flow downstream. One of the ways that the devices do this is by setting up a perimeter fence that the beavers will build on, and then having a pipe that goes through the perimeter to transfer water downstream. The focus of the beaver mitigation devices is to keep the water flowing downstream and yet allow the beavers to have the depth of water they need to feel safe from predators. This way, water from rain events can go into the wetlands, be filtered of pollutants, and then move into the water table due to its slow movement. This helps mitigate the flooding that is contributing to the depletion of our aquifers, and beavers and wetlands help this happen.
Millis is going to continue to invest in flood mitigation along the Charles and town-wide to prevent damage from storms. This will also improve the town's water quality. And remember, a lot of that storm water becomes our drinking water. But right now, while we're making our plans, we need your help. We need to know about flooding in your neighborhood and other parts of town, and what kind of solutions you prefer. So go to this website, www.millisma.gov, and take the survey so we can get your ideas. And thank you.